Good evening and welcome everybody to this week's edition of Coach Voegtli's Corner. I'm David Stearns. Joined with me on the phone, as always, is Coach Aaron Voegtli. Coach, well, you guys gave it your all there in the MACH playoffs. How are you feeling after that weekend?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Obviously not the result that you want, out of our team. Not something that we're used to, but I think we played well enough to kind of prepare ourselves for regionals this upcoming weekend. So I'm doing well.
I'd like to get your take on a few of the other games in the playoff tournament there up in Abingdon, Maryland at the Ice World. But first, let's talk about your two contests. That being the first one against the University of Maryland, gave you kind of a scare there. That game was just back and forth throughout, and it took a little time for you guys to really kind of get your feet under you and really kind of hammer it home there. Granted, that was the fourth out of five matchups that your team has had against Maryland.
Yeah, when you play somebody that many times, and especially in this short a time span, you're going to have a lot of transparency, and unfortunately, we kind of fell asleep a little bit. We dominated the first 8 minutes of that game where they barely got over the red line, and we scored a goal, and I think we kind of went, well, this is going to be kind of like last weekend where we just kind of did our thing, kind of ran away with it. But Maryland had a different idea, so they kind of took it to us, especially in the second period, capitalizing on a lot of mistakes that we made, and we found ourselves down in a 4-2 hole after 2 periods, and we really had to kind of dig ourselves out of that hole, and I thought we did a really good job doing it.
Now, it appeared that Maryland had really capitalized on your turnovers, and a couple of them coming from behind your net. And talk a little bit about the defense play in that game. It seemed like the communication on the ice wasn't there, and like you were saying, though, they really caught you in that second period, and they really outworked you guys. But talk a little bit about the transition between the second period and the third period, because it seemed like you guys were a completely different team in that third period, especially with a couple of good power play opportunities. Of course, you guys went 2 for 4 in that game, with 2 of those power play goals being in that third period to tie things up before Bloom's eventual game winner.
Yeah, we talked in between the break, and we knew that we could play better than we had been, and the team kind of needed a wake-up call, so I kind of gave it to them a little bit, and told them that Bloom's line was going to start, and they were going to have a great shift. They were going to move their feet. We were going to attack, and we had nothing to lose in it. We were already down 2 goals, so it couldn't get any worse than it already was for us. So, and they went out there and did that, and we put Tracy, Fadler, and OC out there on the next shift, and they kind of built off of Bloom's great line and ended up getting a goal, and we were kind of off and running. And then the 2 power play goals, one by Dan Durante to tie it up, and then Bloom on the power play from the top of the key, let one go, and put in the game winner for us.
Now, in the pregame ceremonies, let's talk here. We've got the awards for this year's campaign. Talk a little bit about the awards that were dished out. It seemed like you guys dominated there in the South.
Yeah, we actually dominated every category except one in the entire Mid-Atlantic. It wasn't just the South. It just happened to be that all the South players got the awards. The only one that we didn't get was the forward, and that was taken by Brad Dockstetter from Liberty, and he had an amazing year. I think he totaled 74 points, and he was all over. He played with a confidence that this league hasn't seen in a while out of him. So he didn't have to play behind like a Corey Rice or Reynolds or Jensen or anybody that this year. He was the main headline, and he took those reins, and he did really, really well with them. He's been a dangerous player all year, and he's going to be hard to contain for Rowan, in this upcoming weekend. But Johnny Drago took home the best goaltender award. And I think that was really nice of everybody to kind of realize the talent that Drago has. We all know that Johnny's been hurt for the majority part of the year, early in the season and here of late. But I think he is the most talented goaltender in this league. So it was nice that the rest of the league, kind of saw it that way as well. And he took that home. And then you've got, the easy one in my eyes. I think he's the most talented player in this league, and he's won the best defenseman 3 years in a row, and now 2 years in a row he's also captured the league MVP, and obviously that's Nick Yost, and he's just a special player, and you know we've really been blessed to have him for the last 4 years, and you know he's been our captain for 3, so you know he's just a special player, and it's nice to see him get recognized for all the things that we see on a regular basis and kind of take for granted because we're so used to having him around, but it's nice that he gets the recognition that he deserves because he certainly does.
Yeah, we'll talk at the end of this season, whenever it makes a finish here, about the impact of losing a player like him. I mean, we've seen some players leave this team, like that of a Harcharak and Post and and PJ Carmack, but it seems like you guys are still a force to reckon with, and we'll talk more in detail about that later on. But let's move on to the Virginia Tech game. Now, this game, I didn't see this coming, but then again, you know, you guys took a 2-0 loss to the eventual champions. So talk a little bit about this one.
You know, I think actually, you know, there are games that you lose that you walk away extremely disappointed, and then there are games that you lose that you say, you know what, you just kind of have to tip your hat because you played extremely well. You're not disappointed with the way that your boys fought. And that was kind of like this case. I haven't felt this way since last year at Nationals when we died out there on that ice and just came up losing 2 games in overtime to Arizona State and Michigan State. So, you know, I think this is kind of like that. I mean, we dominated in shots. I think after the first period, it was 15-5 in shots to us. I thought we controlled most of the play. We made one mistake in the first period. It was just a bad pinch. It was a miscommunication in the neutral zone by Yost changing, putting Kelly out on the ice, and Andrew Naring was already stepping up to play, and they were able to just tip the pass wide, and you know Mitch Clark walked in on a breakaway and scored. You know these kinds of mistakes, especially out of 2 freshman defensemen, they're going to happen. You wish they didn't, of course, but they are going to happen. It's part of the game. You know, and they capitalized on it. You know, we had our chances early and we didn't capitalize, so. You know, it is the way it is. The second period, a little bit more back and forth. I thought we got kind of caught out on the ice on too many long shifts, and I thought Virginia Tech took it to us a little bit and kind of evened out the play a little bit. And then in the third period, we really ramped it up. It was still 1-0. I think we outshot them again. It was like 16-2 in the third period. So. You know, I think we played extremely well. In that game, we made 2 major mistakes. We had another bad pinch by a freshman defenseman that allowed them to walk in 3-on-1, and they scored again. So, you know, once they had that 2-goal lead, I think the wind out of our sails kind of went, and the smaller rink that's there in Abington, they were able to kind of sit back in a nice little prevent defense, and you know, we had our issues with it, but. You know, they played well. Walker Detweiler had a great game. He had a great tournament, let's face it. And they, you know, they outplayed us. You know, in the one aspect that really counts, and they outplayed Penn State. So I mean, what they did walking through number 4, number 3, and number 2 in the region to win that championship, you know, they did a great job.
Yeah, that prevent defense really it did stymie you guys, and they put it up against Penn State in that championship game. But boy, what a great effort all around by Virginia Tech, and I completely agree with you. You know, your guys gave it their all, and man, Virginia Tech was just a powerhouse in this tournament. But so, what is it? What's the next step for you guys going in? You know, into the regionals this coming weekend. You guys are just a couple of days away from taking on Maryland for a 5th and final time this season. What are you guys anticipating from them on Saturday, early on in the afternoon? They're around 1:30.
You know, I think that they had some success early on, especially in the middle period when they took the lead of playing a 1-3-1 up against us, and they did a pretty decent job with it. So I don't expect them to kind of waver from that. I'd be kind of surprised if they got away from that 1-3-1. They did it up against us in the crab pot without as much success. They got a little bit better at it when it was on a smaller sheet. Now we're going to play on a sheet that's just, you know, right in the middle of the two. You know, it's an actual NHL size rink, so it's going to be a little bit wider. So they're going to have a little bit more problems, I suspect, with it. But that's what I expect. They're going to try to slow our speed down. I think we're visibly very, a lot faster than Maryland. So they're going to have to try to slow it down to their pace, which they were able to do on the smaller rink this past weekend. But, and I think, to tell you the truth, I think we did. I think what happened last week in winning the Maryland game was exactly what needed to happen. Kind of a little wake-up call, a little shake-up. Saying, no matter how bad we beat them once or twice, this team isn't going to go away. So we really need to play our best. We can't just expect to win. And now with the season on the line, you lose, you're done. Your season's over. We can't afford to take anybody for granted or any situation for granted, that is. So we need to make sure that we show up, and I think we're going to do that. We had a good week worth of practice, so I expect us to come out flying on Saturday.
We'll come back and talk a little bit more about the mock playoffs in the other games, but staying on with the topic about the Southeast Regionals, if you guys do advance on Saturday, who do you anticipate seeing in that in the next game?
It's really a toss-up, Stearnsy. You've got Rowan at the 9 seed, and they're playing Liberty, and Rowan hasn't been playing the greatest of hockey lately, but I mean they're extremely dangerous team. They took Ryder to the brink in the Mid-Atlantic playoffs, lost 6-5 to them. I mean they've got incredible speed. They're able to put the puck in the net. If Bennett's on, he can just flat out shut down an entire team. So they've been dealing with some injuries and some sicknesses and stuff like that, but they're an incredibly dangerous team, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them at all. Even though I think Liberty, has the edge on size and probably a little bit on the goaltending or on the goal scoring side of it. So, but anything can happen here. We saw that last year with Rowan. The Ryder Bowling Green game, that should be a great game. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ryder coming out of that game. Rumors that Bowling Green's top player's been hurt. He might not be playing, so that would give the edge to Ryder plus their outstanding goaltender. So that may be it. And then you've got the toss up between Virginia Tech. Is it the same team that played, the second half of the season, or is it the same team that played in last week's playoffs? And then you got the complete wild card of Toledo. So it could be anybody. It really could. And we're just going to have to kind of take who they give us. So we could be one of 4 teams, and if we're blessed enough to get to day 2, we'll take on anybody they put in front of us.
Yeah, Tom Wilms and I were talking in the broadcast at the mock playoffs that Ryder seems to be a bit of a dark horse in this race because with the goaltending from Kolodenko, anything's possible as far as how far Ryder can take it, and they certainly seem to have the depth up front. But hopefully, you guys won't be staring them down in that advanced game after Saturday if you guys press past Maryland. But talk a little bit about what you've seen out there in the mock playoffs that maybe stood out to you. I mean, Penn State in my mind was the favorite throughout, and it kind of came up short there at the end as Virginia Tech really took it to them in the same fashion that they stood up against you guys in the day prior. But what stood out to you in the overall playoffs?
Well, I think Penn State kind of took it for granted. I think they didn't play with that edge that they played, especially when they played up against us in our barn. Mm-hmm. They had an edge to them that night, and they weren't going to be denied. They were like sharks in the water, and they smelled blood. So. I didn't see that same sense of urgency, at the playoffs. So, they've already punched their ticket to nationals. So, I mean, really, they were playing for a cup that they won the year before. They just kind of expected themselves to win, and they got themselves to the championship that way. And that's how talented they are. But Virginia Tech just had an edge that no other team had in this playoff. So, I think they really surprised me a little bit. And I thought they did a great job. Their coach, Joe Mullen, did a great job preparing them, and up and down their roster, they played extremely well. So, but I mean, Ryder's a team that just seems to be continuously getting better. And they got a first-year coach in Sean Levine and Tom DeRizio, both guys that I actually coached up against when I first started in this league. So. I think that what they've done with that program is really well. I mean, their goaltender is phenomenal. You just can't look at his size and go, well, this is going to be easy. He is so lightning quick. He's got great feet. He's got a great glove. And he's got a compete level that's pretty rare. So, And I think you're right up front. They're extremely deep. If they have a weakness, I think it's their defensemen. But you got to get past their speed and their forwards. They've got two lines that can put the puck in the net at will. So they're going to be tough to handle no matter who has to play them. Bowling Green, unfortunately, had to draw them. But that's going to be interesting because Bowling Green's extremely physical. So, anything can happen in those types of games, and they've got some firepower as well. So I think we're going to be in for some really good hockey this weekend.
Now, talking back about your team, you have Trevor Miller starting in goal, and talk a little bit about his performances in the two games this past weekend and what you're expecting out of his play in this coming weekend's regionals.
Trevor, I thought played really well. The goals that Maryland scored, I don't think he had much of a shot at. I mean, I think there's maybe a one or two that he wished he had back, but you're going to have those. He just got done. You basically shut down the whole team the week before. So I think he kind of caught the same relaxed mentality that our guys did. But I thought he played extremely well up against Virginia Tech. He wasn't tested an awful lot. I think we limited them to 18 shots in the whole game, but they were 18 really good shots. I mean, Virginia Tech did a really good job of being able to penetrate the slot and getting quality opportunities, and Miller came up really big. I think that's 2-3 weekends in a row now that he's come up really big. I thought he played really well up against Penn State. I thought he played extremely well in the crab pot. And once the team woke up and started playing in front of them up against Maryland and Virginia Tech, I thought he did well again. So we're really happy with the way Trevor is playing right now, and he got ice time and he got a game in at Nationals last year, and I think that his game is starting to get back to that stage again, and I think that's kind of what we're going to see from him this weekend. He's playing with a lot of confidence. The guys have confidence in him and they're playing in front of him, so I expect to have some really good goaltending this weekend.
Well, it's certainly important to have a solid goaltender going into, playoffs and playoff-like situations with regionals and nationals. But let's talk a little bit about, you guys got shut out. This is your first shutout, being on the losing side of a shutout for the last 4 years while with UMBC. Talk a little bit about what your offense has to do in case you come up against similar circumstances like that of which the attack that Virginia Tech brought to you guys. What are you going to do to, get the offensive touch going again after seeing no goals for well over 3 periods?
I'm not really all that worried about it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. We worked a lot on our offense this week in practice. We worked on our power play. We worked on our offensive cycles and kind of our different reads and reactions and what to kind of fall back to. But usually after you get shut out, the team responds usually pretty well. We just got to make sure that we don't squeeze our sticks a little bit too tight and start pressing for that first goal. I think it'll come. I think it'll come very naturally to us. And we've got a lot of firepower between Bloom and OC and Fadler and Tracy and Durante and the other Durante and even Fritz and Armstrong. Armstrong's always been one to score big goals, in big games. So he's been on a little bit of a drought. So we expect him to kind of break out of it. And once he gets going, I think we're going to have 3 lines that can score on a good regular basis. So Handy's come up with some big goals. Yost, Devlin, Rath. We've got firepower. So we just need to do what we do. I mean, we can't think too much about that shutout. And really, in reality, I don't think we have. So, Durante misses an open net in the first period. He never misses anything, let alone a wide open net. So it was one of those days where the bounces just weren't going to go our way, and we kind of realized that. So, we're just going to move on. We're going to play Maryland.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask a difficult question here. Assuming that you guys are going up for your 4th trip in a row to nationals, am I correct in that?
That's correct.
Now, let's say you guys punch your ticket. Who do you think the second team will be out of the Southeast that'll make a go at it?
Oh man, so many things can happen. And I've got a lot of faith in our league. I think our league is extremely strong. So So I'll give you two different scenarios.
Okay.
The first one is the one I'm kind of hoping for, just to show the strength of our league, and it's obviously it's an all Mid-Atlantic day two, so it would be, in that case, it would be Liberty, Virginia Tech, and us versus Rider.
Okay.
And so I would say that it would be us from UMBC, and then it's a toss-up between Liberty and Virginia Tech. I mean, they've traded. This will be their fifth time that they've played this year. Virginia Tech, or they're tied 2-2. So this would really be the tiebreaker. So I would actually give it to Liberty just because of the revenge factor of last weekend. So I think Chris does a really good job, just like Joey does from Virginia Tech, and it's kind of a coin flip. So. But Virginia Tech always won 2 games in a row, I don't think, all year. So I would just go with a coin flip and have to pick Liberty just for the transparency of that rivalry. But there's an upset along the way. Let's say Liberty has to play Bowling Green, and we have to play Toledo, or you know what, let's say that Rider still beats and we have to play Rider. I say we punch our ticket, and then you've got Toledo versus Liberty. I would say just because they're unknown, I know they've got firepower, I know they've got good goaltending. They haven't been playing all that well, but I kind of like them as a dark horse. I would pick, and it's the team I don't ever want to face, so I would pick Toledo.
All right. A couple of different scenarios there. And if I'm not mistaken, Virginia Tech was at number 7 last year when they also went to nationals, correct?
That is correct, yep.
So they're looking to make a repeat on that number 7 spot. Well, it should...
And they very well could.
Yeah, it should be an exciting, fun weekend of hockey, and good luck to your squad, sir, and hopefully we'll be talking to you on a positive note next week.
Sounds good. Look forward to it.
All right, that's Coach Aaron Voegtli here for Coach Aaron Voegtli's Corner, and they'll take on Maryland on Saturday for a 5th time this season, 3 weeks in a row, and that will be at 1:30. You can tune in and listen in on the action at iymsportsradio.com. Tom Wilms will have the call for that one. So we will cut it off here, and good luck to UMBC as they make another run at nationals, looking for a 4th consecutive trip, and as Coach Voegtli always says, this time hoping to be a bride instead of a bridesmaid. So, with that being said, good night, everybody, and as always, don't stop believing.